Analysis of the film Inside Out 2, 2023. The sequel to Inside Out returns to explore Riley's emotional universe, now as a teenager facing more complex challenges typical of adolescence, such as the search for identity, bodily changes, and shifts in social relationships. The film delves even deeper into the dynamics of emotions, introducing new feelings and showing how they interact in a more subtle and complex way as Riley grows. The plot sensitively reflects the emotional difficulties of this life stage, balancing light moments with more dramatic ones. Visually, Inside Out 2 maintains the vibrant and creative quality of the original, expanding the visual concepts of the personality islands and the control center to reflect Riley's internal changes. The film reinforces the message that emotional growth is a continuous process, full of discoveries, ups and downs, and highlights the importance of accepting all emotions as essential parts of human development. Curiosities about Inside Out 2, 2023. Return of the original voice cast. Most of the original voice actors, including Amy Poehler as Joy and Phyllis Smith as Sadness, returned to reprise their roles. New emotions. Introduced, the sequel introduces new emotions that reflect the complexity of adolescence, adding layers to the emotional landscape of Riley. Advanced animation techniques. The animation team used updated technology to create even more detailed and expressive facial animations, capturing subtle emotional nuances. Exploration of teenage brain. The film expands the depiction of Riley's mind to include new areas that represent adolescent thoughts and feelings, such as self-consciousness and independence. Consultation with psychologists. Pixar again consulted with psychologists and experts to ensure the emotional portrayals remained realistic and meaningful. Hidden Easter eggs. Like the first film, Inside Out 2 contains references to other Pixar movies and nods to the original Inside Out. Reception. The film was praised for its deeper emotional themes and for addressing the challenges of growing up in a sensitive and relatable way. Lessons. From Inside Out 2, 2023. Adolescence is complex. Growing up involves navigating new and often confusing emotions, and that complexity is normal. Self-acceptance is key. Learning to accept yourself, including your flaws and changing feelings, is vital for healthy development. Emotions evolve. As we grow, our emotions become more nuanced, and understanding this helps us manage them better. Communication matters. Expressing feelings honestly can improve relationships with family and friends during challenging times. Resilience through change. Facing difficulties and adapting to new experiences builds strength and maturity. Balance of independence and connection. Developing independence is important, but maintaining meaningful connections with others remains essential. The film Inside Out 2, 2024, had an estimated budget of $200 million United States dollars and grossed approximately $1,698 million United States dollars worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing animated film in history to date. The film Inside Out 2, 2024, received a 90% approval rating from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and a 96% audience score, in addition to earning an A grade on CinemaScore. Now here's our opinion.
It's time to share my opinion about this animation, the sequel to Inside Out. Since the first film was a huge success, it's natural that they would make a sequel. It took a while, but finally the sequel came out, and the sequel came with an interesting premise to add more emotions, which makes sense since the main character is growing up. But I confess this is a film that worried me, because it was produced in a time of pure woke culture that is, ruining many cinematic works. And incredibly, despite all the failures of films that adopted this rotten woke culture, they kept making movies like that. And I was very worried that Inside Out 2 would be harmed by this woke rot. And Disney kept making movies with this message, this woke culture message, nonstop. So I thought, when Inside Out 2 came out, well, another franchise they will ruin. However, I got the news that the movie was a huge success. Because of that, I decided to watch it, to give it a chance. The movie really seemed not to have evil messages, so that's why I decided to watch it. But some things caught my attention. It seems that Disney Studio really wanted to pass their woke message. In this movie, let's say they held themselves back strongly, holding back to avoid passing the message. But it seems that in the final minutes they decided not to include any message. That could ruin family values. But some things caught my attention. First we have the protagonist Hallie, who goes to a girls-only camp, right? because of her sport, hockey, and then there is a girl she meets at the camp, who is kind of her heroine, Valentina, Val Ortiz, and there is that moment. That scene of the two of them sharing a sort of admiring look, which of course could also be a look of admiration, but it's a scene that can make us suspicious. We wonder, did Hallie get interested in Valentina? Is the woke culture starting there? However, see, Hallie is not vain. She is a teenager, okay? She is very young, but she is not superficial in how she dresses or anything like that. So this already draws some attention, but it's forgivable because she is very young. But that scene, the look they exchange, especially Hallie's admiring look, caught my attention. And I'll explain why I found the scene strange, and why, at this moment, it could have been an attempt to insert the woke message. I researched and discovered that an emotion called love was supposed to appear in this movie. So, you analyze everything, an emotion called love was going to be introduced. Hallie is going to a girls-only camp, so if the emotion love was meant to be in this movie but was cancelled, who do you think Hallie was going to fall in love with? Probably another girl, probably Valentina. Valentina would be Hallie's romantic partner. But apparently, Disney decided to change that, even excluding the emotion love from the movie. So, when I found out the emotion love was supposed to be in this movie, and you see these hints the movie leaves, it becomes pretty obvious what Disney's real intention was. Another thing that caught my attention about Hallie is that she really likes traditionally masculine activities like playing hockey, which is a very rough sport now that women can't play. But it is generally a sport more popular among men, so everything points to Hallie representing the LGBT community. And that worries me in a children's animation. This time, in this movie, they did not explicitly pass the woke culture message, but I would say the desire was strong because of so many previous failures of films soaked in this woke message. This time, they didn't want to take the risk, especially since it's a product from a hugely successful franchise. They had a sure win in their hands. It was just about not passing the woke message this time. And for the first time, or rather after a long time, Disney finally showed some good judgment. And that is why this movie was so successful, because it worked on still familiar themes without pushing the woke culture message to hard. Therefore, I want to leave a warning because this movie has many elements that might make it so that later, in a third film continuation, they finally put the woke culture message in the movie, cause Hallie, in this continuation, the second film, is very young. She will still grow a bit, enter puberty, late adolescence. And it might be that in a third film continuation, they will fully address the LGBT message and woke culture. So, it is quite possible that this will happen in the third movie. Let's say the second movie left many elements for that. In summary, Inside Out 2 is a sequel that respects and expands the legacy of the first film, offering a mature reflection on what it means to grow up and understand oneself. That's all for now. If everything goes well, see you in the next video. Until then.